Hey, Raider Nation. Thank you for joining us on the Only Nation podcast. My name is Heidi, but you may know me as Kevlar Prom Dress or even Raider Ladybug. I am here with Raider Homer again, and we're ready to talk some Raider football together. But before we get into that, though, we wanted to thank all you guys for the support you've given us for the past couple weeks as we slip and slide and struggle to get this thing started. We'd also like to send out a huge shout out to Dan from DC4L Custom Tees. He designed our logo and we absolutely love it. So what do you think about all that, Homer?
I'm excited. I'm enjoying this podcast. We did the live show a couple days ago. We did our first interview.
Yep.
With Mob Boss. I thought we handled that well. I thought being the first interview, we were able to carry on a conversation, not, unfamiliar with doing a interview together. So I thought it went well. And I think this podcast is going to go well.
Yeah.
But as far as DC4L Custom Tees, big shout out, because graphic art, it takes some skill. And Dan definitely has plenty of that. And, I can appreciate his talent, and I very much appreciate him making our logo. I just hope he doesn't mind that I put my little Raider Homer spin on it.
Uh-oh, what did you do?
Well, I just added the Raider Homer bullseye and the Kevlar prom dress shield that I made for you.
Oh, okay. So you just jazzed it up and sexied it up a bit.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Awesome.
Hey, and you know what, Raider Nation? Make sure that you like, follow, and subscribe to us on Facebook, Twitter, and hopefully YouTube in the future. And, the most important thing is, right, because you can always leave a comment, but call the show. It's 904-701-8667. You can leave a 3-minute voicemail ranting and raving about the Raiders and any transactions they may make here in the near future. Or you can give us some ideas that, things you would like to see on the show. So get in contact with us. We want to hear from y'all. And you can also email us at theonlynationpodcast@gmail.com.
Or even just message us on our Facebook page or on our Twitter account. We would love to hear from you.
So tonight, right, was the NFL awards, right? Josh Jacobs missed out on Rookie of the Year. Mad Max missed out on Rookie of the Year. We didn't win Walter Payton Man of the Year. We didn't win anything. In this coming after, we got the Shaft in the Hall of Fame with Cliff missing out, Tom Flores missing out. So
Yep.
What's it going to take, right, in your mind, for the Raiders to get back, I guess, in the good graces of the NFL? Because they certainly have talent, Mack was a great rookie. Carr came out playing, slow, but he missed the MVP, in 2016 when he led the Raiders to the playoffs, for the first time since 2002. So what do you think is going to take for the Raiders to get back in the good graces of the NFL and start winning some of these awards?
Well, I think that we've actually made a little bit of progress with that. You and I were kind of talking about that earlier, about Mark Davis kind of leaving a legacy a little bit different than Al, and it might be a little bit friendlier towards the league.
Well, Al was a rebel, so, and that was in a time when, rebellion was a big thing in America. So, yeah, that worked then, but in the last 20 years of Al's legacy, it did not work. And so I think Mark is, he wants to follow in the footsteps of his father, but he wants to make his own legacy, blaze his own trail. So I think he's taking the right steps by, like I said earlier, I think in the last podcast we talked about it, he bit his tongue when he was trying to get to LA, right? You could tell that he was frustrated, and he came out and he said, you know what, we're just going to keep on going and blah, 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 and he ended up getting the Vegas deal. So that's a huge, like marquee signature moment in his legacy, his young legacy, because, Al wanted to get a stadium built. He couldn't get it done. With considering all the things that he'd done, he couldn't get that done, but Mark Davis got it done. You remember when the Raider Nation put up the billboard saying, Mr. Davis, please do the right thing and hire a GM? Well, that's the first thing MD did.
Yep.
And it led him to the first playoff run in, so many years, 14 years, I think it was.
Yeah, right around there. Yeah.
Yeah, so those are some key, stepping stones to creating the Mark Davis legacy. So we'll see what happens, because he went back and got Gruden, right? That was a huge mistake that Al made. He
Mm-hmm.
went back and got Gruden. He got the stadium. Now, Gruden, like you saw the video, Gruden walked, he toured the stadium. And as he's leaving the stadium, he's like, wow, we got to win. He knows that they got to win. So at 7-8 this year, with, I think Tim Brown was talking about it. If the AB would have worked out, that would have been 2 games for sure that we could have won.
Right.
So we're just a few players away, from making a playoff run, I think. One being at the wide receiver position and the other at the middle linebacker. We need those 2 spots filled. But we'll see. This draft is a huge deal. Hopefully Mark Davis, right, just stays out of it like he has been. He only comes into the media when he needs to, and then he just lets the football personnel, people make the football moves. I was talking to Randy Hansen a long time ago, right? And I was asking him about Mark Davis because, he was sharing his Al Davis memories with me.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, Mark just kind of stayed in the background a little bit, but he was always on the business end of it, always in there with the business people. So I remember the Raider Nation saying Mark Davis didn't have any business prowess or whatever, but that's not what I've been hearing, and Mark Davis has proven that he's been able to make some smart business moves, So his legacy is young, and I think it's heading in the right direction.
Yeah, I'm gonna say something that is not gonna be very popular with a lot of Raiders fans, but Mark Davis is a lot smarter than he looks and acts, and people give him credit for. He knows a lot more about business than people give him credit for, and he even knows more about football than he probably gives himself credit for. Now, granted, Al was his father. Al probably forgot more about football than any of us combined ever knew.
Right.
So compared to him, yeah, he probably doesn't know much about football. But Mark got Las Vegas to give him $750 million to build a stadium. That's not going to happen if you're a blasted idiot.
And it's genius, right? Because one of the biggest problems, right, in Oakland was they wanted to maintain those rights, right? What do you call them? Damn it, I can't remember them now. But the seating rights, and then you sell the name like to Allegiant, and then they make the money. The city of Oakland wanted to keep those rights, but Mark Davis wanted those rights also because that's where he makes his money.
Right.
And now he's in Vegas, right? And he's got those rights. He's gonna start to make millions and millions and millions, and then in a tax-free state, right? Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Mark is in really good position to create his own great legacy. Not just the son of a legend, but the son who rebuilt the legendary Raiders, in his own image.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And the other thing that I hear from a lot of Raiders fans, and I don't usually speak on that much, is the hatred towards him that he has for moving the team to Las Vegas. And they say, Al would be rolling over in his grave if he knew what he's doing. If he knew what his son was doing, he would be rolling over in his grave. And the thing is, I don't believe that at all. Al loved Las Vegas. It was the NFL that didn't want anybody, doing anything there. They had the mafia connections they wanted nothing to do with. They had the gambling connections they wanted nothing to do with. And so it was the NFL that didn't want anything to do with Vegas. Al had us actually play a game in Vegas back like in 1963 or something, a preseason game. He liked the place. And it's not that Vegas was ever out of the Raiders' plans. If I remember correctly, the Raiders registered the internet domain name Las Vegas Raiders. I think it was on December 24th, 1998. So this isn't something that came out of thin air. This is something that was always viewed as a hopeful possibility. Maybe one day, once society in Vegas changes their ways a little bit, that this could be a future home for the team. Like I said, it's not going to be really popular. I still think Oakland is home. I think Oakland will always be home. I'm devastated that they had to leave, but I'm proud of them actually being able to get this far, to be able to get the NFL to change. Because 20 years ago, that would have never happened.
The way I look at it, right? A lot of people talk about these billionaire owners coming in and building their own stadiums. Maybe Mark Davis should sell the team, and then we could get that kind of owner. But you never know if they're gonna change the outfit. They're not gonna know the history. They're not gonna appreciate the history. They're not gonna have grown up in it. So things could definitely change, and for the worse. And who's to say that they wouldn't automatically move out of there anyway? Uh, so what I like about it, right, is that Mark Davis, is the son of an original owner, from the AFL. Like, this
Mm-hmm.
is family owned and operated. These are the companies that, take care of people on a personal level, And I think Mark Davis does that, and it shows, right? Because he's gone back to the alumni. He's repaired some relationships, like with Marcus Allen and things that had went south with Al.
Right.
So this is a valuable. He's going to maintain the Raider way, right? But still blaze his own trail and hopefully create this great legacy where we get to see him become a 3-time Super Bowl champion, and we get to enjoy that after so many years of bad decisions and things like that. I mean, because you read some of the books like Behind the Raiders Shield, right? Like, I
Mm-hmm.
was making some really bonehead decisions based on what had worked for him in the past. But I think that's the biggest thing that Mark Davis is willing to do is let go of the past, but still respect the past and appreciate the past. Bring people that know that past and help build a new path.
Yeah, I think that he's going to get us there. I do.
I do too.
It's just he's not a very popular guy right now. People are warming up to the idea of being in Vegas, but there's a lot of hurt feelings, and I understand where those hurt feelings come from. I do think that he is somebody who is capable of ushering in the future and
Yeah.
possibly repairing that relationship with the NFL. It'll never be completely repaired, but I think he'll get us part of the way there.
And I guess my message to the fans, some California native fans or Oakland natives, right? Oaklanders that might be upset about the move. Take a look at what the Black Hole is doing, right? They're setting up shop in Vegas. Like, it's just something that we have to do as a fan base. It's like, you love the Raiders, right? Nobody's ever gonna forget about Oakland, especially if you went there. You're gonna remember it. You know, and
Hmm.
there's enough people to that are going to come from that scene to help usher in this new scene, but keep that Oakland flavor, so prepare to move on like the Black Hole is doing, I mean, that's how I think you should do it. You got to keep your head on a level. Of course, I'm an out of state fan, so I follow the Raiders no matter what. You know,
Yeah. And it's never going to be Oakland. It's never going to replace Oakland. But
right?
Oakland is our history and it's our foundation. And this is just a progression. It's a moving on. Times are different. I think we're going to be okay. But, I'm torn on it. I love Oakland. I love the atmosphere there. And I do think some of that will be missing. But I think new things will come up and there will be new traditions that are founded. And it's just going to be a matter of us seeing what they are over the next few years as they develop.
I mean, it's so strange, right? That the Oakland Raiders were established, January 30th, 1960, and the Las Vegas Raiders were established, January 22nd, 2020. There's so many, it's just so close. It seems like if we could just start to, there, and I would like to see. I would like to see Mark Davis succeed and the Raiders succeed. I don't know how to describe that. To me, though, I think it seems cool that the birth dates are so close to each other. Hopefully, the legacies are similar in as far as wins. I did that live show right on January 30th. I'm thinking like, damn, just 7 days ago, right? We were talking about the Las Vegas Raiders. You reflect back on that Oakland scene so close to so like we'll start I'll start celebrating the establishment of the Las Vegas Raiders, right? And then 7 days later you celebrate the establishment of the Oakland Raiders. I mean, so you can always go back and revisit the Oakland Raiders, on January 30th, every year.
Mm-hmm.
But to new beginnings, here's to new beginnings.
Yeah, and January 30th will always be the Raiders' birthday.
Yeah.
As a franchise, that's not going to change. But, we do have a few different birthdays, because we did move to Los Angeles, then we moved back to Oakland, and now we've moved to Las Vegas. But January 30th will always be the franchise birthday.
New beginnings, right? So we went 7-9 last year, right? Free agency's around the corner.
Yeah, well, we signed Nevin Lawson. We gave him another year. And we've also signed Richie Incognito for 2 years. And we've signed Denzel Good to another 1-year extension, which I'm really happy to see him staying. But that's really been it as far as free agency goes. The 2020 league year and free agency period begins at 4 p.m. New York time on March 18th this year. So we still got about 6 weeks to go before that. And but I think that if we don't have somebody wrapped up and signed within probably the next 2 weeks, it's going to be us letting them test the market or them deciding to test the market. I think there's going to be a lot of turnover on this roster. Yeah, because I'm just going over this list of unrestricted free agents, and a lot of these guys I've never even heard of. And I know their roster fairly well.
Well, yeah, Glendon's gone. I don't know. You don't want Jalen Richard anymore. Isaiah Crowell, yeah, he's coming off that Achilles. Now I want DeAndre Washington to come back so I can go to Houston, his little football camp, and him still be a Raider.
Yeah, and it's interesting because DeAndre Washington, a year ago at this time, I would have said no, they are ready to phase him out. But he came in so determined and so he was ready to take on the world. He was ready to take on the team. He was ready to take on every challenge. And he was like, no, you are not getting rid of me this year. You are going to have to deal with me because I'm going to be good. And he did. He had a great year. He really did. And he changed my mind. Yeah, I was really impressed with how he played last year.
The one free agent that I really want back that is Vontaze Burfict. That guy, I know he's dirty or whatever, he's a risk, but the guy, they said it, he's Gunther's quarterback. He wears the green dot. The defense was playing a lot better with him than they were without him. And we were talking about Buckner last episode. To me, I think if you fire Buckner and bring in Marinelli and keep Gunther, then maybe you need to keep his quarterback. You got to give him that one more shot. And you could also sign Will Compton. I think that guy showed up late in the year and earned a contract. At least bring him into camp.
Yeah, I would like to see Compton. I would like to see him around for at least another year. And the only thing I'm worried about is a player like him. Raiders don't normally throw big contract offers at them. So he might be wanting to find out, if there's a market for himself out there. But then again, last year when we picked him up, he was hosting a podcast. he was out of football and he was hosting a podcast.
Put me in, coach. Put me in.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Apparently it's a popular podcast, but Yeah, we called him and got him out of the recording studio and got him out onto the field.
Oh man, I hope I get that call. I'll just let me do the podcast, the Raider podcast. I'll be happy.
But yeah, I would like to see Will Compton re-signed. I would like to see Dion Jordan re-signed. My hesitation on Burfict is not who he is as a player, and it's not who he is as a leader. It is strictly his availability. And his availability is just up in the air because of his injury history, because of his reputation with the NFL. They want to get him off the field. They want to force him out of the league. At least that's my opinion. And the way they've treated him the last couple of years, it kind of supports that. So I think if they sign Burfict, which I have a feeling they're going to want to, especially since Gunther is staying around, Gunther's going to want to keep him.
Yeah, I think so. I think Gruden wants him too. Gruden was a little upset. Gruden didn't like that. He said he thought it was ridiculous. But I mean that's the NFL though. They really like to stick it to the Raiders, and we were just talking about repairing that you know broken relationship with the NFL. Hopefully this could be a start. Like hey, look, this guy that hit was cleaner than almost any other hit in the NFL that people were comparing to it. So maybe they could bring him back and it will be okay.
I think that if we bring him back, there has to be a contingency plan. Either a high draft pick to be there to learn off of him for a few weeks and then be able to step in if needed, or another free agent that can come in and back him up, or even split time with him. I don't think you can go into this season with the amount of linebackers we had last year. I think their initial 53-man roster had like 4 linebackers on it.
Was it Morrow, Lee, Burfict, Whitehead?
Yeah, because initially Kyle Wilbur didn't even make the 53-man. He was cut, and then he came back a few days later. We see where that got us at the end of the year as far as linebackers went.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, you can't, Gruden was saying in the video, we got to win now. So you can't just, you can't, it's too risky to not sign Compton and Burfict or at least bring him into camp. Maybe you could get a free agent linebacker and that can come in and take the job. You know what I mean? And then you can cut one of the two or both of them. But there, yeah. If you're saying we only had 4 linebackers, I mean, I don't think we can win. The chances are not good that we can win if we bring in a new linebacker and get rid of everybody else. So to me, it's like, do you keep a Morrow or do you sign Burfict? I mean, I'm going to take Burfict. You know what I mean? Because I know that he can punish you in the middle. People don't necessarily want to run those drag routes and stuff like that. He's going to punish you or run up the middle. So, and then Will Compton he seemed real heady, real cerebral. So bring him in, because then you're that much further along as far as players that understand the scheme. Because once Jonathan Abrams comes back, you still got his learning curve now that he misses rookie year. So you can't have too many holes in the defense where everybody's learning the defense again. You got to help the overall team, like because Burfict's job's on the line. I mean, not Burfict. Gunther's job is on the line. You know what I mean? And I don't think Gruden wants to see him get fired or have to fire him. Because he brought Gunther in. So I mean, you got to give that guy who he wants, and like you said, he's probably gonna want Burfict.
Yeah. What would you think about us picking up Corey Littleton in free agency?
I mean, I looked at his numbers, right? 18 pass breakups and 6 interceptions over the last 2 seasons. He's posted a 90.6 coverage grade that ranks 3rd best, but, he struggles against the run. So, again, yeah, that's, especially in the AFC West, the 18 pass breakups and 6 interceptions, right? In that 90.6 coverage grade, that looks real good because, we got some real good tight ends in the division, But at the same time, Phillips Rivers is gone. So, but you got to stop the Chiefs. So, I mean, it could happen, right? This guy on paper looks good, but is he going to be able to come in? Because from what I've heard, right, and I don't know everything about schemes and all that, but from what I've heard, Gunther is kind of like Gruden in that he has a complex scheme and he has different packages and different looks, but where he was hurting is there were so many injuries that he couldn't use all those schemes and all that. So he's handcuffed. So I mean, this is a contract year for him. If you put it in player terms or whatever, I mean, he has to produce this year. But he's gone. And his replacement is right there. So yeah, I would love to sign Corey Littleton, but I still want Burfict back, and I still want Will Compton. If and Whitehead even, because he's a weak side linebacker. He's better on the weak side. That's why Markel Lee was on the strong side because he had that speed. That's why before last year started, Gunther was telling him, you're gonna have to lose some weight if you're gonna be in this scheme because he was gonna cover the tight ends, but he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to see Whitehead back on the weak side because he's a smart guy. He understands the defense. You bring Burfict back into the middle, and then in passing situations, right? Hopefully you can put in Compton just to give Burfict a rest. You definitely want Burfict in on the running plays, but then maybe a Corey Littleton on the strong side would help out. With the bring back Markel Lee, but Morrow, I mean he flashed a little bit, but it's not enough.
I like Morrow. Anyone from a D3 school that makes it into the NFL, you're always gonna get my appreciation. But he is not somebody that should be a starting NFL linebacker. He simply isn't. He's for depth. Yeah, special teams and depth. And that doesn't mean that he can't have good plays. Like you said, he did flash a little bit, but you need someone more solid. You need somebody in at linebacker like we have not had lately, that we have not had for many years.
Right, then I guess, if you listen to the Mayock interviews, right, he's not, he could just be blowing smoke up everybody's ass, but he doesn't sound like he wants a wide receiver, with the 12th pick. So hopefully, they get the linebacker, but then again, he's going to come in. I guess what I'm saying is if we're going to get a new linebacker, might as well draft him. You know what I mean? Get the best linebacker, at the 12th spot. Because then at least you got him for the next 5 years. You know what I mean? And you bring in a Perfect, and then if the young kid can beat up Perfect, so be it. But no matter what, the tutelage he can get from Perfect would be invaluable, So I wouldn't. I mean, like Corey Littleton on the strong side, maybe, but I don't know. I think you just got to bring back Perfect. You have to.
Yeah. And I think that there's a good chance of that happening because Perfect was reinstated by the league, as soon as our year was over. He doesn't have to appeal anything or have a hearing right now. His suspension is over. So he can definitely sign. I think that is probably what's going to happen, but you need to have a contingency plan. It's that simple because we just can't be going in to 16 games plus whatever playoff games we'll have counting on him.
Well, that's why I think that Will Compton would be a smart re-sign also.
Mm-hmm.
But we can go round and round, right? Because we're not GMs. We don't. We're just speculating.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm an armchair GM, but that's about it.
I'm a Twitter GM.
Oh, oh, you got it going on then. You must know everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What questions do you have? I'll give you the answers.
Are you signing Tom Brady?
I'm not signing Tom Brady. Yeah, I definitely would. If we're talking 5 years ago, and we're talking about, me not feeling physically ill at the thought, um, that would be an idea I would be willing to kick around, as a Twitter GM. But no, he's how old is he going to be this year? 43 by the time the next year starts. And Father Time is undefeated. He's fading, and he's not a bad quarterback. He's still a really, really good quarterback because you have his mind. I mean, look at Peyton Manning. His last season, he certainly physically didn't have anything left. But with Brady, you would have his mind, and that's more than a lot of quarterbacks could say. But physically, he just can't make up for the differences like he used to. You used to be able to give him just a ragtag uh, team of misfits that had no business even winning games in the NFL, and he could make up for that and guide them and go to victory.
See, you got to feel bad for Carr in this situation. All these rumors swirling around. Half the Raider Nation wants him gone. Half the Raider Nation has his back.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, you got to feel bad for that guy. He's put everything he's had into the team, and he still can't get any respect. It's like the Rodney Dangerfield of the NFL.
yeah. I certainly have mixed feelings about Carr. I really like him. He's still one of my favorite players. But some of the criticism that is levied at him is warranted.
I mean, but like, in what way? In what way? That's what I'm saying. Like, the one thing I hate to hear is, oh, he's playing scared. Like, dude, the dude broke his back, broke his leg, pinky. What was it? Pinky, leg, and back.
Hmm.
2 years, 2 seasons. Like, come on, man. But I saw him move around in the pocket enough, and I think it's okay. Yes, he did. I saw some happy feet too. You know what I mean? I saw some happy feet, but a lot of quarterbacks do that. You know what I mean? The guy's put up 4,000 yards in the last 2 years. You know, uh, he's had 17, I think, fourth quarter comebacks in his time in the NFL. I feel bad for him. I feel bad for him. Like I said, you're saying that he deserved it a little bit, I guess, or it has some some backing to it, the criticisms and all this. But at the same time, can you perform in your job if everything is changing all the time? And you're having to learn a new system to do whatever it is you do at your job. I mean, those sound like excuses, right? Because some quarterbacks just step in and they win, and the 49ers are going to the Super Bowl, and they only had their coach for so many years. But sometimes things just click like that for teams. Right now, it's not for the Raiders, but it's not Derek Carr's fault. I mean, I just feel bad for him.
I guess some of my reservations come from I have NFL Game Pass, and so when I'm not watching TV about ghosts or sports, I am watching games on NFL Game Pass. Recently, I've been watching a lot of the games from 2016, and then the victories from his rookie year in 2014. And he is such a different player. And there are so many things that he showed back then that I miss. Just being able to move around in the pocket and being able to slip out of the reach of the defenders. I don't recall him throwing at people's feet as much. And I haven't seen him throwing at people's feet, in these old games. That's something that has occurred over the last few years. It's not who he used to be.
Because he's not as young and dumb anymore. And don't forget, you remember that we were talking about Perfect earlier, right? The game that he got kicked out of, right? That same game, Derek Carr gets clobbered in the face by a defender, in the pocket, and nobody throws a flag or nobody says, "Man, he looks tough. He got up." Nobody says anything. They just want to be upset about the checkdowns at the people's feet. Yes, I know that shit sucks. I mean, that stuff sucks, right? When it's fourth down or third down and two, and he throws at their feet. But I mean, if I'm Derek Carr and it's not there, he's gonna get rid of. I'm getting rid of it too, because he can read. He's not a one read guy. He's not. He's never been a one read guy, despite what people say. He can see the field before the play develops. That's why he can get in and out of the plays. You know, it's just I just he can get in and out of the plays. He can command that. He can command the line of scrimmage. You know what I mean? That's what people were talking about. Gruden was coming out and talking about how he was doing good getting in and out of the plays and making audibles and things like that. You can go back and look at the Gruden interviews and the press conferences and all that. So it's just that we look. This is what it is, man. We've been losing for so long. We're just tired of it. So we want that quarterback that comes in and just starts running everywhere. But I don't think that's because Mahomes can run, but he doesn't really. His strength is just chunking the ball up and letting those speedy wide receivers run and get it.
And he moves around in the pocket.
Yeah, but Carr, I saw him do it enough. I saw Carr do it enough this year. And you know what? I'm not really into a running quarterback. Yes, Rich Gannon ran, but he would run out of the bootleg. He would scramble a little bit, but not as much as the quarterbacks do. Not as much as Michael Vick. You know what I mean? He didn't do it like that. I personally like a pocket quarterback because then I know, because look, Mahomes, man, those are just those windows that he's hitting are just so tight. Like it's a once in a lifetime thing. I guess you could say he's a generational player. You know what I mean? But those windows are so tight, it's hard to duplicate that. So I don't want that guy that's gonna unless it's this just gonna be this once in a lifetime player that we've all seen. Then fine, yeah. But if that's normally not the case with running quarterbacks, for every successful running quarterback, there's how many unsuccessful running quarterbacks. You know what I mean? So, but for every successful running quarterback, how many pocket passers are more successful? How many running quarterbacks won the Super Bowl? Right? You could say Russell Wilson, but that dude's always looking to pass first, right?
Mm-hmm.
So pocket passers are where it's at because then you give them weapons on the outside, you give them weapons behind them, and you give them some maulers in front of them. You know what I mean? And so you got this guy that he knows he has a time because Carr is precise when he's got the time. You know what I mean? And man, Joe Montana, was the same kind of way. They scrambling and scrambling, but running is a different thing. So I like Carr in the pocket. I like Carr in the pocket. I think I think Gruden likes that too. Yes, running and making some improvising plays or improvising during the plays is key. But you think John Gruden's fucking making or you think John Gruden's making a game plan for a running quarterback?
All what I know is that what did Gruden say in just about every Monday press conference? Boy, it sure would be nice to see him move around a little bit more.
A little
He,
bit.
I saw the numbers, and I believe Carr scrambled 17 times this year. That's it. I mean, he barely moved. And the thing is, when he is feeling pressured, he shuts down. Other quarterbacks slide around in the pocket, they move around, they get away from the defense, and they keep their eyes down the field, and the plays don't die. The quarterback I've seen out of Carr lately is that they do. And I'm just going with what I've seen. And I'm going with, how he used to play compared to how he plays now. And there are some things that he does better now, but there are some things that are really frustrating that he doesn't do anymore. He's been our quarterback for 6 years. How long do we give him and say, well, we got to get everything perfect for him to succeed? Other quarterbacks have been able to do it without
Look, Joe
perfection.
Montana had Marcus Allen in Kansas City, and they didn't win a Super Bowl.
And they were both at the end of their careers.
But there were there were two legends. Like you can't just do it with one or two guys. I mean, it has to be an elite team. Brady is an exception, right? Because he's only he only had like Randy Moss, right? But he only had him for that 1 year. But there's countless quarterbacks that need a team around them, and that's not a bad thing. Because it is a team sport. And do you want the quarterback that can just win every game? Of course, but I mean, that's not Carr. That's not Carr. He does need a team, and I'm not bothered by that. I want to see him. In 2016, he had a good squad, but he's the one that really put us over the top in 2016. with those 7 fourth quarter comebacks. That's key because when you with 2 minutes to go, Derek Carr has the ball. You always feel like you got a chance.
Right.
You always, I always do. You know,
Yeah, and I still do.
and I think his record list. I don't remember his record, but I think it was like 33-54 or something like that. Um, but that's the winningest quarterback we've had in a long time. So, do I want to go back to watching us go through quarterback after quarterback after quarterback? No, I don't want to do that. We had Terrell Pryor. We had a running quarterback. That didn't work out too well. I think you got to stay the course. Cars, he's a numbers guy. If you get him, if you give him the weapons, he's gonna get the numbers. He can get the numbers without the weapons. So I mean, yeah, give the guy some weapons. I mean, it was crucial that AB thing. It hit hard, because
Yeah, it
then
did.
Tyrell Williams got the plantar fasciitis, and that was it. And then Josh Morrow got Moreau, the tight end, he got hurt. I mean, and then they just start double teaming Waller. And Josh Jacobs got hurt a couple of games. So, and he still put up 4,000 yards. You can say it's captain check down, but in the West Coast offense, that's what it's about.
Yeah, that's that's true. I mean, he had pretty much more yards after catch than just about any quarterback in the league.
And a high completion percentage. I mean, that's he's not just throwing the ball away all the time. He's throwing the ball into getting into to his guy and making something happen. You know, I mean, do I want to see the Al Davis way, right? Drop back and throw some bombs. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
I do. But then again, I remember everybody saying, "Man, Al Davis just goes deep all the time."
That's what I
So
liked about him.
yeah, but for a while it didn't work. You know what I mean? It didn't work in the mid 90s. It didn't. It didn't. We were. It was that West Coast offense that came in and brought us back. And then once Gruden left or was traded away, we went back to trying to do the deep ball with like Kerry Collins and all them, and it just didn't work. And that's why Jamarcus Russell was drafted, right? Because he had the big cannon arm. So
And oh, you have an Olympic gold medal for sprinting? You're hired.
yeah. Oh, you're a Heisman Trophy winner. Yeah.
You run a 4.2? Dude, just come over here and sit
He's a
next to me.
Raider.
Yeah, he's a Raider. Just sit next to me, and then we'll call you when we have our pick.
But I mean, it's almost over. Carr's time's almost over. I just hope that he really gets a fair shot, a good shot with Gruden, and wins a championship. Just one. If he could just win one championship for us, man, it would just make everything worth it to me.
Well, if he could win one championship, there wouldn't be a question about him being the quarterback. Everyone would be everyone would be sold on him.
But then that's what I mean. It's like you gotta stick with them. You gotta stick with them because you can't. You're not. Who else is gonna come? I mean, Bridgewater. The Saints. They like the other quarterback apparently, but is Bridgewater like Gruden says, or like let me go back up here. See Mayock right on Carr says John demands a lot. Just because some of the quarterbacks are winning and their respective system doesn't mean that quarterbacks can come on to our team and play well in Gruden's system. I mean, that's pretty telling, because
And that goes without saying towards any quarterback in any system.
well, the MVP, right, Jackson, you think he's not going to come in the cars? He couldn't. You watched him in that quarterback challenge, man. He couldn't even hit the target.
And he didn't
It
care
was
about the
embarrassing.
he didn't care about it.
Well, but Derek Carr went in and did that, and he was hitting every target. He was accurate. You looked at Gus, what's the Vikings quarterback? He did the same thing. He was hitting them all. There's a big difference between a quarterback that can pass the ball and a quarterback that can run the ball. And Carr, man, he can pass the ball. He can pass the ball. Just got to get him some weapons. Got to get him some protection, and that's what they did. I mean, we had 3 Pro Bowlers from the offensive line. Richie Incognito was the alternate, right? And
Hmm.
Brown and Hudson. And they signed re-signed good, right? But that
Yeah.
doesn't mean Jackson's on the way out like some of these rumors are starting to kick up, or some things that I've heard online, but because Gabe was an all pro at one point and he went to the
No,
Pro
he
Bowl.
wasn't.
So like
Nope.
wasn't?
Nope.
Was it just a Pro Bowl then?
Nope. Everyone always says he's a Pro Bowler. Not a Pro Bowler. Highest was first team All SEC in 2013. He has not had an honor as an NFL player.
Plays like one.
And now he should have gone in 2016. I totally agree with that. But so many people, when they're talking about him, they say he's a Pro Bowler. No.
Okay, but still, we still got 3 Pro Bowlers on the offensive line, and Colton Miller is coming back and playing well. And Gabe Jackson is no weakness; he's not the weakest link. You know,
No, I like Miller.
so
I actually was not concerned about him after his rookie year. I think I was one of the few.
and that's another thing that you got to remember. Because Carr broke his pinky and then his leg, and then he broke his back and came back. But then
Right.
the next year, he got sacked the most times ever because he had
Mm-hmm.
2 rookie tackles. I mean, that's kind of to me, it shows toughness that he's still playing, that he's still stepping up in the pocket, But it also shows some intelligence that he's getting rid of the ball quickly if it's not there.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt his toughness at all. I think he is a tough dude. I don't think pretty much anyone that makes it into the NFL, pretty much if you're an NFL player, you're pretty tough, unless your name's Obi Melanfuanu. But no, I totally agree with you. I would say Carr's tough. No, yeah, I'm cool with that.
See, another key, right? We were talking earlier about Tim Brown saying that he never had a number one, But Mayock talks about Derek Carr's chemistry with Hunter Renfrow, right? Hunter Renfrow may not be a number one, but he's definitely an elite number 2 and potential Pro Bowler slot receiver, right? Let's just say that, right?
Definitely.
So you can. I mean, that's one thing that you want with Derek Carr is that kind of wide receiver. So he's going to get one more year for sure. I think that we all just need to be patient and remember what you said. I guess really because if Carr starts playing well, that's going to bug the shit out of me. People start coming back and saying, "Oh yeah, Carr this, Carr that," man. Because you got to support through and through, because it's not. I mean, we've been losing forever, and that you got to take a step back and not say you got to remember why we've been losing forever and ever. It's because we've been running through quarterback after quarterback. So Carr,
Yeah.
one more year. I think he has one more year for sure, but I think he has 2 on his contract left, right?
I think you might even have 3. I don't doubt that Carr has the ability. He absolutely has the ability to do it. And I would be thrilled if he does. I'm just kind of at the point where I'm not sure he will. That maybe he needs that change of scenery for him to, to really bust out. Sometimes that's just needed. But he absolutely is capable of doing it. And I would love to see him do it. I want him to do it. And I will support him. He is my quarterback until Gruden says he isn't. And even then, he's still going to be one of my favorite players in the league.
No, I'm a Derek Carr fan, but as soon as he leaves the Raiders, I'm not a fan anymore.
Oh, no, I am. I followed him, when he was a Bulldog an entire college career. I'm always going to be a Derek Carr fan. That doesn't mean I'm going to root for him to beat us, but I'm always going to be a Derek Carr fan. But that's just me.
No, I get it, but I don't like rooting for any other player outside of the Raiders, even if they played. I feel like if you come to the Raiders and then you retire a Raider, you're always a Raider. Yeah, I mean, it's still, 1 year, you're always a Raider, but to me, I want him to stay a Raider. That's what I mean. I want him to stay a Raider and win a Super Bowl and shut all the haters up because he deserves it. He deserves it, man. He
Mm-hmm.
deserves it. He has put everything he's had into it.
All right. Well, I think this is a discussion that will last all off season. We'll be coming up on it again very soon. Is there anything else you wanted to add about it, Homer, before we wrap this up?
Well, I'd like to keep talking, but you're right. We can go round and round about this. But yeah, my final thoughts, I guess, are that, MD is doing a good job of creating his own legacy and repairing the Raiders, and as far as the winning, just commitment to excellence and just win, baby, approach to the organization. I think he's starting to repair that.
Mm-hmm.
So he's doing that right by not making the same mistakes that his dad made. Not going through QB after QB, regardless of what side of the Derek Carr conversation you're on. He's sticking with the QB. He's not going through coach after coach after coach, right? He had Dennis Allen until the third year when he let him go. He had JDR for 3 years, and now he's got Gruden for 10. So he's not going through coach after coach after coach. Remember, Andy Reid took a while to build a Super Bowl team, in Kansas City. And he only went to one Super Bowl or a couple. So I think, what was it, one? I remember one that he went to in Philadelphia,
Yeah,
you
Philly.
know. So it takes time. It takes time. Gruden, first 2 years, 8-8, didn't quite work out the same way this time, but, stay the course. And I think that's what Mark Davis is doing. So I think that's a good thing for the Raider Nation and the Raiders.
I definitely agree with you on that. Stability is something that we have not had for a very long time, and it is something that I think is really crucial to a winning organization because, I know Gruden loves to model things after the Patriots, as much as they make me physically ill to think about them. But when you think of stability and you think of a program that just sticks to what works, it's them. So we need to borrow some of those characteristics from them, I think. And on that note, we are coming to a close on the second episode of the Only Nation podcast. Thank you all for joining us. Coming up next time, we'll be releasing a special interview we did with the mob boss last week on the Raiders' birthday. We'll be getting that out in probably another day or two.
Awesome. I hope everybody enjoys that. Mob Boss is passionate about being a great role model for the Raider Nation, and he does some great things. So I can't wait for everybody to hear that. And so be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to our show, The Only Nation Podcast. Contact us at 904-701-8667 and give us your feedback. You can leave a 3-minute voicemail with your opinions or send some shout outs. Or email the Only Nation Podcast at gmail.com. But get in contact with us, Raider Nation. Let us know how you feel.
And until next time, everyone, go Raiders.
Go Raiders.